Hi friends, Janet the Moline Library here. Today I'm going to show you how to make the hand warmers that are part of our January craft kit. If you haven't picked a kit up yet, there are still some available. They are in the lobby at the table, or you can request to pick up a kit through our curbside pickup, Monday through Friday 10 to 4 and Saturday 9 to 1. Inside your kit you will find 2 pieces of fabric, and you'll have a little kit that has your needle and thread in it, and also a pouch of rice. You will also need a pair of scissors, a funnel. If you don't have a funnel, you can roll up a piece of paper and use that, and a spoon or a measuring spoon would be helpful too. Alright, well, let's go ahead and get started. First, you're going to want to take your 2 pieces of fabric here, and you're going to want to put them front to front so that what you're seeing on the outside right now is the inside of the material. Alright, so that's how we're going to get started, and then we will start sewing. In your kit, you will have about 100 inches each of black and white thread. Working with that much thread can be a little difficult, so I would recommend that you cut the thread in half and only use half of it at a time. This does mean that you will have to thread your needle probably once again during your project, but it's easier than working with too much. So what you'll do is go ahead and thread your needle, and for this project we want the thread to be doubled over so it's twice as strong. So we get it on there, and then go ahead and tie a knot. This is how I was taught to do it. You loop it around your finger and then you kind of bring it through to make a knot. Alright. To start sewing, we're going to start about an inch in from the edge, and we're going to start from the back side, and we're going to have it about 1/4 of an inch down from the edge. And we'll be using today what's known as a back stitch. So I've come through the back towards the front, and then I'm going to go back a space, and when I come back up again, I'm going to try to get it still about 1/4 of an inch down, but a little bit over from where I was before. So you'll see we came through the back to the front, we went back a little bit and went to the back and came up a little ways over. From now on, what we'll do when we go back is we will try to match up exactly the end of our previous stitch so that it matches up. And then when we come back up again, we're going to come a little ways over, come back to the front, and then back to the end of that previous stitch. Oops. Alright. And then we just keep doing that. When you get to the corner, it can be a little bit tricky, so I will show you how that goes. And I am using black thread here to show you a bigger contrast. It doesn't really matter what color thread you use at this point because we're going to be turning this inside out, and so all of these stitches will end up being on the outside. Alright, so you can see I've got to the corner here. What I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to come up through the very end of that back stitch. Oops. And then I'm going to go forward 1 stitch. Alright, and then I'm going to skip forward so that I can start a new line of back stitches. Alright, and the reason that we're using the back stitch is it's a very strong stitch. It doesn't pull through because since you're always going back, it stays in place where it's supposed to once you've got it done. And so what we're going to do is just keep stitching all the way around until we get down, over, back up, and then back over to a right back here. So let's go ahead and do that now. All right, after you have gotten around all 4 corners and you've come back to within about an inch of the corner and leaving at least an inch there in the center, what you'll do to finish off your thread, and this is what you would do if you had to switch thread in the middle as well, is from the back side, you're going to want to go through just 1 layer of the fabric and leave a loop. And then you're going to take your needle and you're going to come through that loop a couple of times and pull it tight. And that will make a knot, and you can then cut that off. When you are changing fabric in the middle, or sorry, changing thread in the middle, you would do the same thing. After you get it tied off, you would start again from the back side, which I'm looking at here, come up through the front side, and just like we did at the corner, we'll start by going forward, and then we'll come forward on the back and then go back again. So it's kind of like the corner is how we would do it if we need to end our thread and start over again in the middle. Next, what we want to do is we want to cut the corners off. This is going to make it easier to turn it inside out without having any bulges. If you want, you can also trim off if you have any extra material, like a rather thick amount of material. You can, on the sides, you can trim that up as well. Any place that maybe it didn't line up quite right. The less material that you have on the outside, the easier it will be to turn it right side out. But you don't want to cut it too close to your threads either. Next, you're going to want to turn it inside out. So to do that, and this is a fairly small opening that we're working with, so you'll have to be careful because you don't want to pull your stitches out. So if you just kind of put your fingers in and grab a hold of the material and then pull it through and just kind of gently tuck in the outside to the inside all the way around until it comes through. And then it's pretty important that you also make sure that your corners are all the way pushed out. You won't have a chance to do this again, so all 4 of your corners, you want to make sure that they are corner shaped and not kind of bulgy from the inside out. Okay, so that looks pretty good to me. All right, then the next thing that we're going to do is fill it with the rice. So we're going to take the funnel and put it just barely inside. If you put it all the way down, it's actually not going to fill and it can lead to some messes. So I'm putting it so that the edge of the funnel, or if you're using a paper cone, isn't too far in. And then we're going to fill it, depending on the size of the fabric that you're working with, maybe 2 or 3 at most tablespoons. See, that was kind of full, so it's not wanting to go in. So there we go, got that first tablespoon in. Here's the second one. Oops. Just kind of shake it down to get all the rice in there. Let's see, we want it to be about half full, not too much more than that, and that's up to about right there. So that's probably good. All right. So then what we need to do is finish this off. We need to close it off so that all that rice doesn't come off. So I'm going to take my needle, it still has the thread on it that I was using to finish up, put a nice knot in there. And we're going to want to start by coming from the inside of the fabric. That will hide the knot in between the 2 pieces of fabric. And then we will use another back stitch to finish this up. There is another stitch that you can use. It's called the ladder stitch, sometimes called the invisible stitch. I am not quite proficient with that, but if you wanted to try that out, you could just Google it and see how it's done, and you could use that. That will keep your stitches from showing up on the outside. But as I said, I'm not quite comfortable trying to demonstrate that, as I haven't done it very much myself. So then what I'm going to do is just use the back stitch again. I'm going to come a little bit over from where I was before to make sure that I've got this hole all the way closed up, and use a back stitch to completely close off this opening. So once we have all of our back stitching all the way along there, enough to make sure that that is closed and solid and no rice will come out, we've got the thread there on the back side, and what we're going to do to finish it off is to actually bring the thread in between the fold and through one piece of fabric. Not quite that far, just a little ways, just like that, so about that far. And again, we'll pull the thread through until we've got a loop, and we'll come through that loop a couple of times. And when we finish that off, that knot will be at least partially inside the material so that it's not making too big of a mess. So there is our finished product. You can see that mine's not incredibly straight, but the back stitching does make a nice line on both sides. So there you go. And then to use your hand warmer, you'd want to pop it in the microwave for about 30 seconds, definitely not more than that, and be very careful when you take it out, because at first it will be very hot, and that can help warm up your hands. If you're going to be going out, you could heat it up in the microwave and throw it in your pocket. Or if you've got a little bit of an ache, you could use that on your sore muscles. There is your hand warmer. I hope you've enjoyed this craft with me. If you haven't picked up your kit, they are still available. And if for some reason you get here and we don't have any, just ask and I can make up another one or bring one down to you. And if you run out of thread or any other materials, let me know and I'd be happy to get those to you as well. Thanks for watching.